We are learning more today about a proposed settlement between tobacco companies, provinces, territories, and tens of thousands of Quebec smokers. The multi-billion-dollar deal was decades in the making. The CBC's Jennifer Yoon is in Montreal with the details.
$32 billion paid out by 3 major tobacco companies to smokers diagnosed with lung cancer, throat cancer, or emphysema, as well as provinces and territories to recover healthcare costs. If the proposed plan is accepted, it would be the biggest deal of its kind outside the United States.
When we started this case in 1998, not a single person in the world had received a single penny from a tobacco company in compensation. And as a result of this litigation, tens of thousands of Canadians will receive very significant awards.
This is the result of a legal battle that's been going on for decades. The Quebec class action lawsuit was filed in 1998 involving smokers that got seriously sick or couldn't quit. The plaintiffs won the case in 2015. It just took this long for the potential payout because the companies were seeking creditor protection. If this proposed plan is accepted, the plaintiffs would file claims for compensation up to $100,000 each. But many of the class action members have died already, so their successors will be eligible for the compensation.
Obviously, our loved ones won't come back from the dead, but at least it gives us some kind of justice, some kind of closure.
The proposed plan also includes more than $25 billion for provinces and territories recouping health costs, as well as $2.5 billion for smokers in other provinces diagnosed with some cancers between 2015 and 2019. It must be voted on by creditors no later than December 12th and approved by the court. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Montreal.
Well, not all anti-smoking advocates are impressed with this settlement. That includes our next guest, Cynthia Callard. Cynthia is the Executive Director of Physicians for a Smoke-Free Canada. She joins me tonight from Ottawa. Thank you for being here. I understand that you have mixed emotions about this deal. In your opinion, why isn't it enough?
Well, it's actually 2 deals in one. When it comes to the finalization of the class action suits and the damages that have to be paid to smokers, we're delighted. It's been a long road. They've waited too long for their money, and we're really hopeful that they can be awarded the compensation that the courts gave them a decade ago. But the problem is that the provincial lawsuits were twinned onto this for the settlement discussions. And the provincial lawsuits have resolved in about 75% of the damages that are being talked about right now are for the provincial governments. Now, it makes perfect sense for provincial governments to be repaid for some of the healthcare costs. But the problem is that the solution that's being sought is not going to improve the health status of anyone. The governments have just settled for money. And all of the money that's going to come to them in the future is going to come from the sale of tobacco products. So more people are going to be hurt in order for the provinces to be recompensed for some of the healthcare damages in the past. And that means, of course, that there's going to be more healthcare costs. So financially, the settlement doesn't make sense to us, but our most profound concern is that the provinces had the opportunity to force the industry to taper down its business, to exit Canada, to wind down what it's doing. And instead of choosing that, they chose a structure that essentially will result in the industry surviving in perpetuity.
So let's talk about that a little bit more. What do you think is missing here, and what approach do you think the provinces should have taken when negotiating with these companies?
Well, after the provinces lost their appeal to the Quebec Court of Appeal, they sought insolvency protection. They recognized that they would go bankrupt if they couldn't reach a deal with the provinces. They knew that the provincial government lawsuits would also win, and that they would be in the hawk for hundreds of billions of dollars that they absolutely didn't have. So bankruptcy was their only option. But bankruptcy, or winding down the business, could in fact be the best solution for public health. Why do we need to keep tobacco companies alive? You know, when asbestos lawsuits forced the asbestos industry out, we found a way of kind of winding it down and getting rid of asbestos products. We would have much preferred for the provinces to insist on an orderly phase out of the industry over 5 or 10 years, or converting to a system where smokers were certainly not forced to quit, but were supplied cigarettes in a way that was aimed at ending this, having no more nicotine addicts, having no more tobacco industry clients. Just as an example of the problem, in 2015, when the judgment came in, there were 5 million Canadians using tobacco or other forms of nicotine. And today, there's 5 million Canadians using tobacco or some form of nicotine. All of this litigation has not reduced the number of people who are using these products, and it hasn't really meaningfully reduced the death toll from these products. So we would much prefer a bolder vision and not just a financial payout.
What does a bolder vision look like to you? What other government initiatives would you like to see dissuade people in this country from smoking?
Well, I think the governments have done a fair job at encouraging smokers to quit. But what they failed to do is kind of require manufacturers to end what they're doing. So we have plans now, for example, to get rid of internal combustion engine cars, but we have no plan to get rid of the combustible cigarettes. We have plans to get rid of greenhouse gas emissions, but we have no requirements on producers. So I think to use supply side measures to force the companies to meet certain targets that would force them to shift their business model from one where they're trying to sell more products to more people to one where they're recognized that they have to sell fewer products and they themselves have to participate in helping smokers quit. Now, many smokers do quit, but many are dying. What especially we want to make sure is that the people who are dying from tobacco use are not replaced with new nicotine clients for the companies.
We got to leave it there, but I appreciate your view on this story. That is Cynthia Callard. Cynthia is the Executive Director of Physicians for a Smoke-Free Canada, joining us tonight from the nation's capital, Ottawa.